Good news, everybody. We're having a 2-for-1 special today on circular AI deals with back-to-back announcements within just a few minutes of each other today, with Nvidia agreeing to buy its own chips from itself using Synopsis as a middleman, and OpenAI taking a stake in Thrive Capital using Thrive Capital's own money. Why? So Thrive Capital can give the money to OpenAI's customers and they can give it right back to OpenAI. It was a heck of a day in the AI bubble. Try to keep up. What's up, guys? I'm nobody special, and in the interest of transparency, before we get started, I have to disclose that I am personally short Nvidia stock for reasons that I've spent pretty much the last 2 years on this channel describing, which is why I was not at all surprised this morning when I saw this, the first of 2 circular accounting stories in one day. Nvidia buys $2 billion of chip software maker Synopsis stock. Nvidia invested $2 billion in chip design software maker Synopsis as part of a broader engineering and design tie-up aiming to infuse its AI computing technology into more industries. Nvidia purchased the shares for $414.79 each. The company said in a statement on Monday, the stake represents 2.6% of Synopsis' outstanding stock. The new partnership involves integrating Nvidia's tools into Synopsis chip design applications, and the companies also will deploy AI agents and work on joint marketing. And then right below that paragraph, you can see the increasingly familiar shape of one of these AI circular economic diagrams that have been making the rounds in the financial press recently, even though they were doing the same thing on my channel about 2 years ago, but let's not get hung up on that little detail. And when stories like this break, you have 2 choices. You can listen to the Jim Cramer interviews that are nothing but cheerleading sessions, don't forget the pom-poms, or you could do what those crazy randos do and actually open up the 8Ks and read the details. And in section 3.02 of that 8K, you get those important details. In particular, this one here, Nvidia purchased about 4.8 million shares of Synopsis common stock at a price per share of $414.79 for an aggregate purchase price of $2 billion in cash. The shares are being issued to Nvidia in a private placement. And that is a very important detail, that these are new shares being issued in a private placement directly to Nvidia. The way they're making the headlines sound, it's like Nvidia is going into the open market and buying shares of Synopsis, bidding up the price of the stock. That is definitely not what is happening here. Synopsis is creating new shares, giving them to Nvidia in exchange for $2 billion of cash. And of course, that means Synopsis' existing shareholders are being diluted. Why? So Synopsis can take that $2 billion in cash and buy Nvidia's chips with their own money. In other words, Nvidia is buying their own chips using Synopsis as a middleman. Synopsis shareholders are getting diluted, all as a sacrifice at the altar of Nvidia's revenues. Nvidia did something similar with at least 49 of its own customers in 2024, and God knows how many in 2025. This is a very familiar and at times illegal accounting gimmick known as round tripping, which I have spent the last 2 years on this channel documenting. I've got a whole playlist called the AI Mania. If you're interested in checking that one out, I'll put a link down below. And it turns out this wasn't even the only circular accounting deal that was announced today. Just a few minutes after the Nvidia Synopsis story broke, we got this one in TechCrunch. OpenAI's investment into Thrive Holdings is its latest circular deal. OpenAI is taking an ownership stake in Thrive Holdings, whose parent company is one of the AI giant's major investors, Thrive Capital. Thrive Holdings operates like a private equity firm for AI, rolling up companies that it believes could benefit from the tech in sectors like accounting and IT services. Neither company disclosed the terms of the deal, but it will involve OpenAI sending employees from its engineering, research, and product teams to work within Thrive's companies to accelerate AI adoption and boost efficiency. If those companies succeed, OpenAI's stake will grow, and it will get compensated for its services, according to a source familiar with the matter. Now, we got almost no details about this story, mostly because OpenAI's books are a black box that money disappears into, never to be seen again. We don't know if OpenAI is buying this stake in Thrive Holdings with cash, which it has very little of because OpenAI is a furnace that burns cash, or maybe they're taking a stake in Thrive Holdings using data center credits, something that CoreWeave did with Magnetar Capital, where they're basically buying this stake in the firm with coupons for free data center rentals, and then the firm can take those coupons, give them to their member companies, and of course those companies would then redeem those coupons at OpenAI, and then OpenAI reports it as revenue. We just don't know. But it's important to remember that detail at the beginning of the TechCrunch article that Thrive Capital was an original investor in OpenAI, and of course Thrive Capital owns Thrive Holdings, the firm that's made up of OpenAI's customers. So let's see if we can keep track of the capital, follow the money, and see where it's going to actually end up. Thrive Capital buys an ownership stake in OpenAI, giving OpenAI money. Then OpenAI takes that money, gives it back to Thrive Holdings, which is a subsidiary of Thrive Capital. Now the money's back with them. Thrive Holdings then takes that money and gives it to its portfolio companies, OpenAI's customers. And what do OpenAI's customers do with it? Well, they give it to OpenAI, of course. It's the same money going around in a circle multiple times, each stop getting reported as revenue. Is there any actual value being created anywhere in this chain, or is this money just getting reported over and over again as revenue to the benefit of these tech bros while losses in somebody else's books continue to accumulate with each stop? And there's one more fun little detail to this story. This guy right behind me is Joshua Kushner. He's the founder and controller of Thrive Capital and thus Thrive Holdings. He is also the brother of Jared Kushner, who is the husband of Ivanka Trump, who is the daughter of President Trump. So the guy in charge of Thrive Capital, who's doing this circular deal with OpenAI, is the president's son-in-law's little brother. And I'm sure that little detail has nothing to do with the fact that OpenAI is fighting for its very survival right now. And it spent the last couple of weeks begging the government for bailouts. And now the president's son-in-law's brother is investing a bunch of money in OpenAI. I'm sure there's nothing to see here. So long story short, this tradition of seemingly daily announcements of circular deals in the AI bubble are no more. One announcement a day simply will not cut it. Those are rookie numbers in this racket. You got to bump those up. We're now doing 2 at a time. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow we'll get 3 circular deal announcements in the same day. We all know what's going on here. Most of us aren't pretending anymore. We all know that there's really no value being created here anywhere, that this is just other people's money going up in smoke, while these a-holes tell stories about how all the kids of the world are going to be given free education and cancer is going to be cured just as soon as AI can figure out how to count the R's in strawberries. Till next time, live small and dream big.